Welcome to the Buck Stops Here, the official podcast of NotInHallOfFame.com, and I'm your host, the Buck, Kirk Buchner, owner, operator, and all-around alcoholic / asshole who runs this site. So all the times when you're not liking a list, chances are it was probably me. This sort of is a special time for us because it's kind of beginning our Christmas holidays, if you will. In the next couple weeks, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will announce their finalists, and it should be interesting because it always is. And that's kind of the crux of really how this whole site began. Sitting at a bar one day, listening to people argue about why Madonna got in. And that led to me creating my first list about 7-8 years ago, and it sort of blossomed into what you see here before you. With all of that being said, I'm going to bring back Evan Nolan. Evan's been with us a lot of times, and this is our second year where we're doing an audio show regarding our predictions for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Actually, we agreed on a lot of things, and as always, it's a fun and fascinating conversation. I can't really say why I got Hitler involved, but I kind of did, and it had nothing to do with Kraftwerk. And with that, here's Evan. Evan, it's been a long time, buddy.
It's been a while, at least it's particularly talking about the Rock Hall. So
yes, well, I think we should probably just do it the same way we did it last time, where we both sort of came up with some bands who, and again, I think we should sort of like point out, these are artists who we think they're going to pick, not necessarily who we would want them to pick.
Correct.
Yeah, because if that would be the case, actually in a lot of these cases, it would be pretty much the one. Half of these would be ones I'd really want them to do anyway. But you never know.
That's true. There's only so many pet projects they can have. So.
Every time I think I have enough, then I find more. But I mean, that's life. That's island living.
Right.
So I've come up with 16, and as I sort of rattle them off, I want to see if they're ones that you've come up with. I'll give a little bit of my reasoning behind it, and then I will defer to you. I'm considering the real expert on this. For those of you who haven't sort of seen Evan's last piece for us, Evan's counting down the top 50 bands, again, that he thinks, in terms of their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame chances, who are newly eligible this year. So it's a real nice sort of blast from the past in some ways, and a nice little time capsule, and very, very well written. If you're into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and music of 25 years ago, this is the band for you. Or this is the article for you, sorry.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, usually this is not a 50 band list, but 1994 was exceptionally fruitful for music. So usually it's about 30. I think last year number 30 was Adam Sandler. So that tells you how the difference is between last year and this year. But honestly, the hardest part of that article is determining who is actually eligible and who isn't. Because I've seen bands who I didn't think were eligible, like Slater Kinney, who people are saying are eligible, and then there are other bands who I think are eligible who people are saying are not. So it's very confusing. That's one of the things the Rock Hall really should do, is just give us a list every year of who's actually eligible this year. That'd be nice, but they don't do that.
No, and I don't know why they can't. I mean, then transparency has never been their thing, and even when they have that, they break the rules sometimes anyway. Smokey Robinson, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, well, yeah, or our favorite thing is we bring up every time we do this, the nominate someone like Glenda Jackson and then get her, Wanda Jackson, and then get her in through the a backdoor for musical excellence. Like, either she's a candidate the front way or she's not.
Right.
Just don't do it the back way.
Or sort of like, I guess the remaining members of Chic that are not named Nile Rodgers, that have just seen their saw their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech. I guess they can delete that from the hard drive.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was more mercy killing than anything else. But just putting, like, they all just wanted Nile Rodgers in. And at that point, it had been 10 times. At that point, what are you going to do?
But that was also the 10th time. So, I mean, like, I can just imagine that call, though, that, like, who makes that call? Does Niall make that to the other members of the band, or?
I don't know. That's a tough one. So, I don't know. Actually, I know Chic was actually 11 times. There's 11th time. Like, no one else has ever gone more than, who is it? Solomon Burke went 10 times, but eventually got in. The next longest without getting a next most number of nominations is Chuck Willis at 6. So, I mean, that was more mercy killing than letting Niall talk about Chic, because it's not the nominating committee's fault. It's like when Donna Summer got in only after she died. The nominating committee kept putting Donna Summer up there for people to rightfully vote in, and then they just didn't do it. At that point, they just felt like, we got to do something.
It's I'll never understand completely how they work. And I guess also we should mention, for those who aren't aware, there's going to be a new chairman of... Is it the chairman or CEO? What's the official title for the Rock Hall?
I don't think it really matters, other than I hear a whole bunch of munchkins singing "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead."
So Jan Wenner out.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and John Sykes in. Whether he brings all this sort of new promise that he's talking about, we will see. Jan is not necessarily gone. He's still apparently on the board of directors, so I'm sure his input will be forthcoming in some capacity, and as much as we like to rip on Jan, and he's earned a lot of it, this pretty much is his baby. So without him, right, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame probably doesn't come exist, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. Well, some sort of music Hall of Fame would probably have existed. I mean, there are country music and all the other genres have their own Hall of Fame. So at some point, something would have existed. But Hall, as it is right now, is entirely Wenner's baby, and he ruled it like his own private fiefdom a lot of the time through there. So it'll be interesting to see what new direction it takes with some younger people getting into committee, because that's the other thing. I actually don't know how the nominating committee is being changed. I know we've heard some new people who've been added over the last few years, but as it gets younger, what that's going to mean, whether we're going to have a lot fewer zombies type nominations and a lot more early 90s nominations,
right?
Just because that's what
and that's
people know better.
And that's one of those things that sort of made it hard for me to sort of try to do any kind of prediction, because I have no baseline with how this is going to go. So I just went with the same baseline that I kind of went almost every year since we've started, and just sort of where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, at least when they come up with potential candidates, it always seems to be one of a particular genre.
Right.
And I didn't go away from that, so I'll just get right to the 16 I've got. I've got little goofy titles for each one of them. So the first one, which I'm calling the Modern Lock, going with Oasis.
Yeah, Oasis is one of the newly eligible bands, and they're live broadcasting the Rock Hall induction ceremony for the first time this year, which is a big change and I think important, because I think what that means is we're going to see a few more. We're going to see a few more bands that people actually have quite a bit of following who show up just because they're not going to be worried about their ratings. And I can't imagine anything that's going to get bigger ratings than the idea of the Brothers Gallagher sharing the stage again and trying to play music. I don't think that would actually happen, but just the prospect of it being a possibility has got to be enticing to those guys.
I envision writing about 10 articles in the next few months just based on Gallagher drama and this Hall of Fame. Will they show up? Will they not? Do they even care? These are.
It'd be funny if one cared, if they both really cared, and one said how much they care, and the other one just was like, "I don't care," because just to be contrary to the first brother.
Or the first one could say, "I don't care," so then they'll care.
Yeah, that would be pretty much par for the course. But yeah, it's hard for me to imagine. I think there's going to be 2 first-time nominees out of this group coming in, despite the fact I have, I think eventually 15 to 18 bands eligible for the first time this year will eventually get in. But I think there are only going to be 2 who show up this first year, and I'm pretty sure Oasis is going to be one of them.
Yeah, I think I know who the second one is. So I guess Oasis is one of yours?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so my next one, return candidate who doesn't give a shit, Kraftwerk. And nobody seems to give a shit about them either whenever they come to voting.
No, I agree. I have Kraftwerk as one of mine as well. They really want to get electronic music in the hall. Daft Punk is eligible for the first time this year. They'd love to get Daft Punk in, but it's very hard to get Daft Punk in when you don't have Kraftwerk. So yeah, I think Kraftwerk has to show up again in the hopes that they can just rally enough people to be like, hey guys, get these guys in. And then, you know what, it actually wouldn't surprise me if Kraftwerk somehow ends up with the switch into a musical excellence type category, just because they want them in there because they think they need them in there. Knowing they're not going to show up, why even bother? Just put them in this way.
Almost give them some kind of weird little engineering innovation award, make up something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is techno music, so you wanna do some weird innovation as it is.
And I think I said the same thing last year. I mean, like, even if they don't show up, just get 4 old German guys, put them in one of those weird suits. No one's gonna know.
Right, or I'm sure the guys from Daft Punk are available. Like, put them in some suits. Nobody's gonna know them either. So without the helmets, nobody's gonna have any idea. Get like Daft Punk's Dead Mouse and a few other techno guys who you've never seen their heads, and or 2 members of the Gorillaz, and nobody's gonna care. So.
And you're right. Who the hell would know? So let's see. Which one should I go next? Okay. So I call this one my medal, but this one I think is the gift on a platter. They can't screw it up. Leading the Rock Hall vote, actually at the Physical Hall, is Motley Crue. Never been nominated. They've got a lot of buzz from that Netflix movie, The Dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see them not getting a nomination. What do you think?
I think we're 3 for 3 on this. I think we said last year.
Mm-hmm.
I remember last year when the nominations came out, I wrote the article in my reactions, and my first thought was, "Congratulations, Def Leppard, you've gotten to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame." Because the rock wing of the rock voting block just picks a band and sticks behind them, and all the way through. So whoever the popular rock band is going to be the one. And if you look at who's left from that area, unless you're getting into, I don't know, Poison or a few of those other ones, the most prominent band left is Motley Crue. And it's glaring compared to who everyone else who's in. It's glaring that Motley Crue is still available. So yeah, and they're leading the vote, which makes a big deal. Although this is going to be an interesting test of the vote because you know who number 2 and number 3 are, correct?
Actually, I don't anymore. I just remember that Motley Crue is number 1. Who is number 2 and 3?
2 is Iron Maiden, and 3 is Blink-182. So so Blink-182 is a first-time eligible, and the idea of Blink-182 being a first-time inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is something that a lot of people are probably going to have a little bit of a problem with, so they're going to probably make them wait. And I'd have a trouble seeing Iron Maiden. I know a lot of people have said Iron Maiden's going to get a shot because the rock wing, for whatever reason, doesn't get behind Judas Priest, who keeps getting nominated. But I have trouble seeing Iron Maiden taking the Priest spot. But it's entirely possible it could happen this year because that's 1, 2, 3 right now. Fortunately, Freddie Mercury's solo career, which was up at the top for a long time, is no longer at the top part of it.
That might have been one of the most asinine votes I've ever seen. When Freddie Mercury gets that, he even took a shot at his own solo career in that damn movie.
Yeah. So that movie, I guess they really liked Rami Malek, and so they thought they would nominate him, but there was no reason for Mercury to be there. I think 4 last I saw, by the way, on the voting thing was Dave Matthews Band. So that would be, I guess that might be a possibility as well for them to pull off, but I'm not necessarily seeing that either.
So you have Motley Crue. Did you have one of the other metal bands that you mentioned?
I have the Priest. I have Judas Priest still
Judas Priest? Okay.
in that spot as opposed to Iron Maiden. But if it's one of those 2 is going to be nominated. Okay. I don't know which one. I think Judas Priest because they should be in first. But if they see Iron Maiden near the top, they may just put Iron Maiden up. At least they get them voted on.
Okay, so yeah, that's our first one where we differ. As much as I would love to see both of those in, actually I want to see Motorhead personally in before those 2. I didn't.
No problem with that.
Yeah, I didn't add a second metal group.
Okay. Yeah, it would be amazing for. I'm just sad if Motorhead ever gets in that Lemmy's not going to be there just to get in front of a microphone and start talking. That would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, no, I think there's if we're going to do 16, at this point the fact Judas Priest finally got nominated. They've been nominated twice now. That just a couple of years ago, they just have to get in the hall. There's just it's impossible to have this hall without Judas Priest there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have them on this. I just think they're going to bypass them this year, but I'm wrong a lot when it comes to this.
And we're blindfolded throwing darts at a moving target. So, I mean, just it's Schrodinger's guess. You know, we could be right and wrong, and who knows.
So I've got now I do have a genre where I'm going to, and that's the hip hop genre. They're getting a lot more criticism, saying that there's not enough African American artists who have been getting in lately. When they say lately, that's one thing. When they said overall, then that whoever says that really hasn't done their research. But I've got two: LL Cool J to return, and the Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah, I think Biggie has to be nominated. The last year they had Wu-Tang Clan and they had Snoop Dogg, and they didn't pick either of them for LL Cool J. But I don't think you could ignore. We've already got Tupac in. He was the first ballot. You can't ignore hip hop's ultimate rivalry, and more than a rivalry, they both ended up dead as a result of what was going on. But it's impossible to have one without the other. I think Biggie's going to get nominated no matter what. And a whole bunch of Middle America is going to be furious when he gets elected. But Biggie's definitely going to be there. I do not have LL Cool J though.
Oh,
okay. I'm thinking that they're only going to do the one hip hop artist with such a big name. They can always go back to LL next year, even though there's so many other, like I said, Wu-Tang Clan and Snoop, and I mean the list. Nas is up this year. Like the list just goes on and on and on of people who are also eligible, but they have this need to get LL in, even though he hasn't actually been ever actually gotten close, from I could tell from the votes, just anecdotally having read over time. But I think with Biggie up there, it's just going to make LL look bad, and so they're just not going to put him on. That would be my guess, but again, who knows?
I can just imagine, 70-year-old people watching all these cop shows, trying to figure out, and they hear that this guy got in, and they're arguing with each other. No, it was the one from Law and Order. No, it was the NCIS guy.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
It's just trying to figure out which one of these guys.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I hope with the live broadcasting of the ceremony this year is if Biggie is elected, that when Tupac was elected, apparently that was the time when most of the audience got up and used the restroom, which is one of the most disrespectful things I can imagine. I hope that just the fact it's being live broadcast is enough to shame people into at least staying in their seats. So that's one of the things over the years that's bothered me more than anything. Just the report that like when Tupac was getting inducted, that like half the audience had gotten up to use the restroom.
Well, we should do like one of those. Say if you see that South Park episode, if you say his name 3 times, Biggie Smalls is going to come and cap your ass.
We can only hope.
Yeah, and that'll sort of keep him in line. Okay, so we got our second difference. So Punk, the Punk nominee, they've been nominated a few times before. They're definitely well deserving. I've got MC5.
Yeah, MC5 is a band that's absolutely deserving. I was going back and forth with them. I've decided not to put them on this year, only because MC5's been on the last 3 years. And if bands don't tend to make it through, they tend to give them a little bit of a break and then come back like a year off and come back. But yeah, MC5s are very good. It's a very good option. I just don't have them this year just because they're over the last 3.
Right. And that was actually the last band I sort of came up with when I was sort of looking at this, because as much as they sort of love punk, the punk genre, they don't necessarily have to go there.
Right.
So we'll see what they do. So we were talking about Women in the Hall. So I'll go with 3 that I've got right here. One I have
3. My goodness.
Yeah. Well, 3.
Well, I'm just saying, because that was one of the things when Wenner was leaving. He said that there's a appropriate amount of people getting in the hall, but only 7.7% of all people in the hall are female. So just the idea that 3 are going to get nominated is a tremendous progress. So I'd like to hear who your 3 are.
Okay, so 2 I've said before. 1 will be brand new, so I'll just go through the ones I've said before. I didn't say her last year because I just keep forgetting about her, but Mary Wells is someone who I think is criminally overlooked. Was nominated, I think, God, like 25 years ago. I can't even remember.
She was nominated the first 2 years of the Hall and hasn't been nominated since. So she was nominated back in 86 and 87. And that was the last time.
So she checks so many of the boxes. Female, African-American, Motown.
Mm-hmm.
What, like that, that's a perfect nominee.
Mary Wells would be an absolutely wonderful nominee. I would be a little bit surprised if the way things tend to be going, that if they reach that far back to grab her, but I'd be very excited about it.
Yeah. So the other one is Rufus and Chaka Khan. They seem to really want Chaka in there, but it never sort of happens. So I can't see why they're not going to try to kick this can again.
Yeah, I decided to give Chaka a year off this year. I have somebody else in her spot who I think they might give a shot to in that R&B type spot. But yeah, I don't have Chaka on this year.
Okay, so this is someone I've never picked before, but very very strong career as a solo, and then prior to that as a duo. I've got Cher.
Yeah, well, I mean, Cher is one of the most criminally overlooked people ever with the Hall of Fame. Her and Patti LaBelle are just 2 people who aren't in any capacity that you just be like, wait, how? How can you tell? It's a history of music, right? How can you tell the history of music without either Cher or Patti LaBelle? It's impossible. I mean, at least Diana Ross is in with the Supremes and Tina Turner's in with Ike. Mm-hmm. But it seems crazy to me that neither of those are in. So Cher I would love to see Cher get nominated. I would love to see her get in. But I don't have her this year either. I don't see why this year is different for her than all the rest of them. She's pretty outspoken, and she's pretty outspoken about her not having gotten in the Hall. And I don't know if she's rubbed enough people the wrong way at this point that they're just going to forget her until she's already gone.
It could be, but we've right now with some of the way it's sort of looking, there's not really you need a name.
Oh, true. Well, I agree.
Yeah, and there's not a lot that are even alive.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I got the name that I think I actually just mentioned her. So my headlining female is actually Tina Turner.
I thought it might be.
Yeah. So Tina is, like I said, in with Ike, but which is her solo career is far greater than her career with Ike. And there was a little bit of so we talked about the Clyde McPhatter Club only because it's fun to say Clyde McPhatter's name because most people have no idea who he is. But he was the first person who got nominated. I got inducted to the Rock Hall twice. So we had the first female member of the Clyde McPhatter Club last year was Stevie Nicks. And there's nothing against Stevie Nicks, who's an absolutely fabulous, wonderful artist and deserves to be in twice. But the idea that the first woman who got in twice was Stevie over Tina Turner or Diana Ross sat pretty weird with quite a few people out there. So I think the fact that Tina is still out there, she's one under anyone's list of 100 greatest artists of all time, Tina Turner on her own is on there. I think that if they're going to reach back for anybody to get a female headliner, I think Tina is the person who they might go out and do.
And I would love that too. I would. I think it would be fantastic. She would kick ass. I've said before. I'll say again. If you go just top 5 rock and roll voices, I don't care what gender you are. Tina's in the top 5.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely, 100%. So. It'll be interesting, but I think I have Tina. I hope Tina gets nominated. If Cher gets nominated instead of Tina, that's also okay. But they need to find one of those big name overlooked women who just to get up there to just be like, you know what, we should have done this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. So that sort of leads me to a few other categories. So I got the Spinners returning, sort of your Philly soul. Again, they keep getting nominated, and they should.
Yep, the Spinners are my 16th. Mm-hmm. When you told me we were doing 16 instead of 15, I had a list of a whole bunch after. The Spinners are. I just love the Spinners, and everybody should love the Spinners. I mean, Rubber Band Man is just, God, I love the song. Anyway, but the Spinners are a band who they looked at before. They'll look at again, and they haven't been nominated a little bit here. It was 2016 the last time they were nominated, so this will be their fourth time. It's about time for them to come back on. And I actually kind of have them and another band splitting the Rufus Chaka Khan spot. Okay. So I know Philly Soul's a little bit different than the Rufus Chaka Khan, but it's the same basic time period, and the same people are going to be voting for that band who would vote for Rufus Chaka Khan. So. Yeah,
I think when Hall & Oates got inducted, I think Daryl Hall said, it's almost criminal that we're in before the Spinners. And I think Oates just said, yeah, whatever he said. Low-hanging fruit. It was right there.
the Crockett and Tubbs of the music industry.
Whatever happened to Philip Michael Thomas?
I'm pretty sure he grew a mustache and played with Daryl Hall.
and who would know?
No, but I mean, Hall & Oates getting in is I always get fascinated by who loves who. Like when I think I've told the story when Joey Ramone was on his deathbed, he called the Rock Hall and demanded they induct Cat Stevens, which is crazy to me. But the idea, who got Hall & Oates in the Hall of Fame?
No, who?
Questlove.
Really?
Questlove's first, his main thing when he got on the nominating committee was, I don't care what else happens, Hall & Oates is my thing. And he basically banged the table for Hall & Oates to get in. So one of the main guys for the Roots was like, no, I don't care about anyone else. Hall & Oates is my jam, and he got him on the ballot, and then they got voted right in. It's just always interested me who really cares about what and who loves anything. It's like if Snoop and Martha Stewart can be best friends, anything is possible when it comes to celebrities and who they really like. Well, so.
Snoop will do anything for a paycheck, so I don't think it's even that far. If there's enough money, I think you could see Snoop and Adolf Hitler show.
That would get some interesting ratings. So,
full shizzle, my nizzle.
There'd be some very confused people if that were on TV.
I think in Europe, in UK once they tried to show Heil Hitler, I'm home.
Oh jeez.
So I think it lasted one episode. I gotta look that up again. But yeah, basically it's sort of it was if the Hitlers were the honeymooners, and that's what it was. Heil Hitler, I'm home, and yeah. And even the British said, no, we're not doing this.
Wow. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Since I just sort of I don't know what tangent I just went on. That's what I do best. All right, so I've got the Cure beneficiary, and which I was either going to. I always flip back and forth between New Order and the Smiths. I went with the Smiths.
Okay, so I have a Cure beneficiary as well, but I don't think it's either the New Order or the Smiths. I would love for New Order to get in. I'd love for Joy Division to get in. I actually think it's Depeche Mode who is the beneficiary of the Cure getting in. So I think we talked about this last year when the Cure got in. We talked about how the Smiths, Depeche Mode, and the Cure were just kind of on this wheel. They put one on and then waiting for one to get in, and the Cure finally got through the barrier last year. So the question is, in my opinion, which of the other two bands gets in? I just think Depeche Mode has more of a TV-friendly sound, let's put it that way, than the Smiths do. So I think they get the next shot now that the Cure is in.
Also, they're probably more likely to show up because I don't believe Morrissey and Johnny Marr even talk either.
No.
So.
Yeah, no, I don't think they do either. And Johnny Marr, just by the way, has been releasing some awesome music the last couple of years. I think that you and I both agree somebody's going to be the beneficiary of the Cure. Someone else has got to get that spot. I just think it's Depeche Mode. But okay. I mean, again, it could be the Smiths. It could be New Order. Heck, it could be even a little bit further afield, like Duran Duran.
It could.
But somebody's getting that spot from the new wave, early emo stuff.
So I've only got 3 more categories left. So you go from 80s alternative to 90s alternative. The band that's going to get that spot, and I don't want them to, it's Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, I have Rage again. And after our thing last year, and I was a little bit, you and I both agree that there are other bands who probably deserve it more, but Tom Morello is on the nominating committee. So I don't think Tom Morello is actually nominating his own band. I think other people are nominating him with Tom Morello there. But I think, having talked to a few people, they did bring up the fact that how politically active they've been in pushing social causes and stuff, and maybe that has a little bit more pull with some of the voters and some of the people in the room. But again, you and I think both agree that there are other bands, Soundgarden, Sonic Youth, a few others that we would rather see instead. You can keep going with whoever you think else, but yeah, I think we both agree they're going to be there until they get elected.
And it's and the scary thing is, I don't see Morello as the type who's necessarily pushing for himself in that room.
No, I agree. When he got on there, the first thing he did was push for Jane's Addiction. And that's the one time Jane's Addiction's been nominated, because that was Morello's first time on the committee, and he pushed him, and they didn't get elected. So I agree with you. I don't think Morello's doing it at all, but I think it's hard. He's in the room. I think it's hard for them not to. And they've been nominated. How many times now? Is it 2 in a row?
2, I think.
Yeah, 2 in a row. So this would be a 3rd in a row. I think that just.
But then he almost blocks.
They're like doing the 3 in a row thing.
It almost blocks all the other ones that should. So I mean, it's almost like one of those things where okay, you almost have to put yourself in just so that you can get some other stuff and then risk whatever kind of backlash. Like I wonder if he's just more comfortable that they're not nominated for a couple years, and then come back to him.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, but yeah, it'd be interesting. It would be interesting, actually, if both Rage Against the Machine and The Roots ended up both nominated this year, and then be like, wait a second here.
Yeah, well, it's like right up there when, well, it's not quite the same, but yeah, when it opens up a can of worms similar to when Bud Selig got in, but that's a podcast for another time.
Yeah, well, yeah, Bud Selig was, the owner of the most successful franchise in Major League Baseball, so that's clearly why they chose him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I was thinking. Couldn't have been anything else.
Of course.
So, what have I got? 2 more. The Critical Darling, that is still relevant today. Surprised he didn't get a shot last year. That's Beck.
Yeah, I have Beck too. Yeah, I mean, last year there were no bands who were eligible for first time last year who got nominated at all, and that's Beck, Wu-Tang Clan, The Roots, Bjork, Snoop, Sheryl Crow, like just going down from there, Tony Braxton. So none of those folks got nominated, and I think at this point they're going to go back and we were all pretty surprised when Beck wasn't nominated. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I mean, and he's still making music that's hitting the charts all these years later. I think that Beck is going to get sort of the modern songwriter slot this year. So I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and then when he goes to accept it, Kanye will interrupt, and Beck will just stand there doing less than Taylor Swift even did.
Well, Kanye will interrupt, and then Taylor Swift will interrupt, and then we won't know what's going to happen. So.
Oh, I made a mistake. I've got 2 left here. My 60s retro. I had Procol Harum written down, or typed in rather, on my Excel sheet, and then last minute I switched it over for Tommy James.
Ooh, Tommy James and Shondells would be amazing.
Yeah, and I think I'm letting my heart go on that one, because Procol Harum.
My mother-in-law would be super excited about that.
Tommy James is still alive.
Tommy James and Shondells are a band that completely deserves it. Mm-hmm. At this point, I'm wondering, with the Zombies in, if there are any other 60s bands who they're actually going to put in. Because, I mean, there's Tommy James and Shondells. I've heard a few things over the years for Paul Revere and the Raiders. Mm-hmm. There's some support behind. There might even be some Herman's Hermits support. But yeah, that'd have absolutely no trouble if they showed up. I just don't have any real '60s bands on my list for the first time in a long time. So,
and there's a couple others too. I think you suggested Grassroots last year, and I
did suggest Grassroots last year,
and I went with the Turtles last year.
Yeah, yeah, the Grassroots I fully and utterly love, but I would love for the Grassroots to also get nominated, but I can't. If the community's getting younger, I'm having trouble seeing more '60s bands in there. They're just so '60s heavy at this point that there's just like we're still trying to nominate '70s bands who deserve to be in, who've never been nominated.
Oh crap! I
just
realized
we just spent so much time in the '60s at this point.
I have two more.
And
I lied.
Giving us up. So good.
I lied. I have my '70s one here too.
Okay.
Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, I have the Doobie Brothers on here too. Someone is going to get the Jay Giles Band slot, and it may very well be Jay Giles Band. But I feel like the Doobies. I was reading Future Rock Legends, and they pointed something out to me, which is pretty interesting. That the Doobie Brothers are really working hard to get in behind the systems, and their manager is Irving Azov, who is actually on the board of directors at the Hall. There's some thoughts that behind the scenes he's working to try and get Doobie Brothers in. They've been somebody on the periphery, but they've really been pushing it to try and get in the last couple of years. And I think this is a time that they can to walk through the door, unless they nominate Jay Giles Band again, the third best band from Boston, who's not in yet.
And if Doobies get a nomination, they're getting in.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the same thing. When we saw last year, when we saw Roxy Music, they were getting in. We saw Dire Straits, they were getting in. When we saw
Chicago,
Steve Miller Band, Chicago, like they're just certain bands. So you just see them like, okay, well, they're finally got up here, so they're finally getting in. But yeah, so if they're on the ballot, they're in.
Yeah, so that leaves me.
I feel the same way about Motley Crue, by the way, and I actually feel the same way about Depeche Mode.
Mm-hmm. So I have one left, and that's my wild card, but I don't know how wild it is. There's going to be a lot of people who will hate this, but in terms of overall songwriting and just the whole rock and roll outlaw ethos, I got Willie Nelson.
I also have Willie Nelson.
No. Okay.
100% I have Willie Nelson. He's the fourth person on my list. My list goes Depeche Mode, Judas Priest, Motley Crue, Willie Nelson.
Nice.
Yes, I 100% have him. And I think we talked about this last year when John Prine got nominated. At least I brought it up as to how outlaw country Chris Christopherson, I mean, Johnny Cash is in, but like Chris Christopherson, Merle Haggard, Willie Nelson, that whole branch of country music, which is a lot more, let's say, rock adjacent than, say, She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy, is going to be represented. And I think at this point, there's just so much love for that man. There's like nobody in the world who hates Willie Nelson. And if you can get him up there on stage, if you have Willie Nelson and Notorious B.I.G. in the same class, it balances out, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, the man's 81, 82 years old at this point. If you're going to get him in, you got to get him in now, although he's probably pretty well preserved.
He's what is he? Country Keith Richards, really? He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, well, except I haven't thought Willie Nelson's been dead for 15 years. Unlike Keith. But yeah, no, Willie Nelson, I feel like when they nominate Prime, they acknowledge that there's still a country-ish spot available in the Hall for somebody. If there's a country-ish spot, the only person to walk through, or the best person to walk through, is Willie.
In a literal fog.
In a literal fog. I mean, honestly, one of the most fun songs that anybody, if this moment they hear it, one of the most fun country songs the last 20 years is I'll Never Smoke Weed with Willie Again. Right? That song is fantastic. And it's basically like a love song for a cultural icon. And yeah, Willie deserves it. If you're gonna include country in the Hall, if you're gonna have Conway Twitty and you're going to have Johnny Cash, then I think you need to have Willie as well.
So which ones do you have that I didn't?
So I have one more female artist and one more band fronted by a female. I think a couple years ago, in 2018, they had the six folks get in. But the person who finished seventh, according to all of the things I read, was the Eurythmics.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the Eurythmics, I was a little surprised. I think I brought them up there on my list last year. I'm a little surprised they didn't get nominated again. But I feel like the Eurythmics fit nicely into this group and would have a pretty good shot of getting in. So I'm having them coming back on for the second time. My other female artists who they would nobody would care if they got in. Everybody would be like, yeah, no, she deserves it. Is Pat Benatar.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Benatar, for the rock people, for people who want to enjoy the show and everything like that, Benatar is she's a hard rockin' chick who deserves every opportunity to get in. She should be in already. She's been eligible since I think her first album was 78, 79. So she's been eligible for 15 years, if not more. So she's the one I'm getting in. And the one person I'm surprised you didn't have on your list is returning from last year. The person we thought had a chance to get in twice, two different ways he didn't, which is Todd Rundgren.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt if they're going to pass him up on that first time, long time, they're just going to make him wait again.
They might. They might. But there seemed to be a lot of happiness to see him on the ballot, and he certainly deserves the opportunity. So I think they'd at least give him a second shot at it before they pass him over. Honestly, unless you have Beck in that songwriter, I just take air quotes. I'm sure you can see them through the phone. But if they're going to have Beck in that songwriter category, he's more modern for what people who are voting are going to consider songwriter. There still has to be somebody there. So unless they're going to go to Zevon, which is a possibility, I still think Todd Rundgren is filling that slot at least for one more year and give him a shot at it. And then maybe at that point they decide, well, he didn't make it a second time. We'll just move to the next person, whether that's Zevon or who knows. They may consider Phil Collins, for all I know, a songwriter. But move on to somebody else. But I think he'll get another chance at it. And who knows? It could be the musical excellence thing at this point.
That's what I was just gonna say. Right? He could just not get nominated or get nominated and still wind up winning that award because that stuff comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like we talked before, though, there just needs to be a seniors committee, and there needs to be a seniors committee, there needs to be a musical excellence committee, there needs to be whatever, and seniors committee should meet every year and just pick a band who started 50 years ago or before. So at this point, we're talking any band who started before 1970, and we decide there's one band we're going to pick. We'll pick, I don't know. Let's just say Mary Wells. Mm-hmm. So we'll pick Mary Wells, and we get an up or down vote on Mary Wells, completely separate from everything else. They need to do the same thing with musical excellence people. Hey, here's the four or five people we're considering. Here's who we nominated, and we get an up or down vote on that. And they just need to copy the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think in that area it would be a lot more transparent to people. But again, transparency is not what the Rock Hall does.
No, and that we'll see. Maybe that'll change under this new guidance. I'm excited to see where it will go. We have to do this again for our reaction show.
Absolutely, and like I said, I told you before this, by 31 through 40 is going to be in your hands as of 20 minutes from now.
All right, awesome.
And then I'll hopefully get the rest of these out before. I'm imagining they're going to do this nomination sometime around the 15th. Does that seem to make sense? 15th, 18th, somewhere around there?
That goes right back to their whole lack of transparency. You just don't even know.
Yeah, we don't even know. So my guess is it's going to be sometime in the late teens to early 20s of this month on the dates. But I want to get everything to you by then. So in case I'll give a preview in case anybody cares. For the next ones at 40, I have Paul Oakenfold, and he's just basically a stand-in for all the DJs who are up this year, because I have no idea if a DJ's ever going to get in the hall. But he and John Digweed and Sasha and a few others are eligible this year. So Oakenfold standing in basically for all of them. At 39, I had Portishead, the Shade for white people. I love Portishead. There's probably a whole bunch of kids in the mid-20s who were conceived Portishead. But yeah, so I have them in at 39. At 38, I have one of my two Britpop bands who never made it in the U.S., which is Supergrass. Mm-hmm. Do you remember them?
I do.
Yeah, we are young, we run free. That's like their biggest song. But they were huge in England. I just don't know. If you don't go across the pond, I don't know how well it goes. 37, I had Paula Cole as a first female singer-songwriter. 36, Warren G. 35, I actually have, because we have to bring up the new swing at some point, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, which I don't think they'll ever get in, but if anyone from that, I guess them or the Cherry Poppin' Daddies, the only two who might ever get in from that genre. 34, I have Machinehead. 33, I have Ash, who's another Britpop one who never made it over here. 32, Jimmy Eat World, is the first big emo pop band, and then 31, the creators of emo themselves, or them with the Jawbreakers, Sunday Day Real Estate. So, and then we get into some serious ones after that, because you still have Outkast and Usher and Weezer and Notorious B.I.G. and Oasis, and this year is just insane as to who's available. Daft Punk, Bush, Outkast, Dave Matthews Band, Marilyn Manson, Cake, the Fugees, G-Lovin', Special Sauce. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on this year. So...
The year that I think also gave us Friends, if I remember correctly, or not.
I'm gonna make a lot of enemies by saying this, but Friends may be the worst television show ever.
Whoa!
It's entirely, well, I take that back because Green Acres was a thing, but in terms of things that have taken place during my lifetime, I can't imagine a more overrated television program than Friends, other than maybe The Big Bang Theory.
I'll give you maybe somewhat overrated, but the worst television show ever?
Well, maybe. Let me walk that back a little bit. Maybe in comparison with its reputation versus its actual quality, it's hard for me to. Friends wasn't funny at the time, and it's even worse now if you ever actually watch it. Unless you're an absolute lover of Friends. That show it's just not good. Wow. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm someone who watched How I Met Your Mother every single episode. So believe me, I don't have good taste in TV. But that is just, it's a tough show. I can't do it. I've tried since then. It's just not good.
Well,
I told you I was gonna make enemies. You may be one of them.
Oh, no, it takes a lot to make me an enemy. I had an argument.
I know, I was kidding.
Yeah. Oh, I had an argument with someone at one of the bars here who was pretty much trying to tell me that American football wasn't a sport.
I would like to hear the argument of that.
Well, without sort of trying to do a very bad Barbadian accent, basically his take was they're all on roids and nobody else other than the States plays it. Okay. I just said that just means it's not a true international sport. Well, why isn't it in the Olympics? Because not enough countries play it. See, it's not a sport.
Yeah.
So synchronized swimming is? What's synchronized swimming? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a conversation at the bar.
Here's my definition of a sport. In order to be a sport, it can have people who make sure the rules are followed, but it can't have an artistic vote as part of it. So it has to be determined on the field, not by someone's opinion as to how well you kept your triple Lutz together. And that's Absolutely. Not to demean gymnastics or figure skating or ballroom dancing or cheerleading or any of those other sports. It's just those end up being athletic competitions with incredibly athletic people. But as soon as there is a judgment call as to exactly how artistic your thing was and it's somebody's opinion, it's hard for me to call it a sport.
Oh, especially when sometimes when they say presentation matters, including their costume. Okay, you lost me. Not that I was really going to go all in on those sports anyway, but.
Well, maybe that's the Browns' problem. That orange and brown combination has just not worked out for them.
I always thought as a little kid, I mean, your team name is the Browns, but your helmet's orange.
Yeah, well, funny story. Do you know how the Browns got their colors?
I do not.
And I only know the story because it's from my wife's university. So Paul Brown used to bring his team out to Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio, for their summer stuff right there. And Bowling Green's colors are brown and orange. Mm-hmm. And so Paul Brown thinking, hey, that'd be great. I'll just use the Bowling Green's colors so we're consistent with them. However, Bowling Green got their colors because the president of the university back in 1901 or whenever was on a bus and saw a woman's hat that he particularly liked that was brown and orange. So Bowling Green got his colors from a woman's hat on a tram or a bus or something in 1901, and that got translated to them, which then got picked up by the Browns. So basically, the Browns' colors are based off some lady who's long dead woman hat that she wore on public transportation.
That is awesome. That is the best story ever.
And I brought that up once on Twitter, and some guy went nuts on me about it, and I just posted the thing from Bowling Green's website explaining where they got their colors and how the Browns took their colors. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. It's not the way. I'm not the one who came up with this. I would never come up with something this stupid. But yeah, that's how the Browns got their colors off some woman Paul Brown never met's hat. So there you go.
That is awesome. I will leave you with one sort of thought. Your YouTube homework. What I consider the worst television show of all time. A Canadian show, because we had a lot of bad ones. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of bad ones. This one starring Lyle Alzado.
Okay.
Where he was a teacher during the day and a pro wrestler at night.
Okay, that's far from his real life.
Yeah. And it was called Learning the Ropes, and it would feature cameos by wrestlers of the National Wrestling Alliance.
Wow. I actually got to see that. I thought you were going to go with some Canadian classic like You Can't Do That on Television or Degrassi Junior High.
Oh, Degrassi Junior High, I did like that show.
Yeah, I liked both of them. I was just making sure you weren't going to shock me or something.
No.
So I was mentally preparing myself.
Yeah, no. This one was just on what was it, on CTV, and it was one of those things where you have to like fill some of that. Actually, one of the characters from Degrassi Junior High left that show to go onto this show, thinking it was probably a better gig.
Wow!
So if you remember,
and another one,
all the way with Stephanie
went
K.
on to do Hotline Bling, right?
That's true, but that was on the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Like Degrassi's Next Class. I'm talking like going back on the way original shit.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to look for clips of it just to see how bad it was. But yeah. I'm going to stand by that. Friends is not good.
Wow. Wow.
It's just not.
My wife may not want to meet you now.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. It would be hilarious, though, if I know your wife is coming into Chicago for business at the end of the month. It'd be hilarious if I actually met your wife before I met you.
Right?
We've talked on the phone for the last 10, 12 years without ever having been in the same room together. So I kind of just want to find out where her conferences go, just introduce myself, take a picture, and just text it to you as a talk.
We've barely been in the same country together.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's just that ankle bracelet you carry, sir. There's nothing I can do about that.
Well, it wasn't my choice, but, I've learned from my mistakes, and, I no longer touch people inappropriately, and things have gotten better for me.
There you go.
Yeah, that wasn't the best closing, was it?
No, that's okay. You can always cut that part. Anyway, dude, good to talk to you. We should do this in a little bit, and yeah, I hope that we are right on some of these. We don't end up with, I don't know. What is the worst band you think they could put out there that you just like, what the hell?
Well, if they nominate Sting again.
Sting would be. think it'd be a tough one.
That one I don't want to say livid, but just like, are you kidding me? That would be pretty much the worst one, because I can't really think of anything else until they actually do it.
Yeah, the JBs were pretty bad for me when they came up, because I didn't even have them anywhere on any list that I've ever done. Oh, by the way, dude, I just looked. I actually only gave you 15 bands. I forgot one more.
Oh, who's that?
Sorry about that. I was just looking at my list. Sorry, the other people I had replacing Chaka Khan and Rufus, which is another band that's been on before, which is War. So I'm having War coming back on. A band that is one of the few really integrated bands out there. They haven't been up since 2015. So it would be their fourth nomination. It's been a while. So I had War as my 16th band. I was just like over my list before I shut the spreadsheet. I was like, oh, wait a second, I didn't highlight them.
I'd be happy with that.
There's my 16th. So my 16 again, just for everything, as if Depeche Mode, Judas Priest, Motley Crue, Willie Nelson, Todd Rundgren, Tourist B.I.G., Oasis, Beck, Rage Against the Machine, Eurythmics, Kraftwerk, Pat Benatar, Doobie Brothers, War, Tina Turner, and the Spinners.
All right.
So it's my 16.
So we will.
So it's like they're all there.
Yeah. So we'll do this again in a couple of weeks. And Evan, thanks again.
All right. Good to talk to you, man. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.